very special message today, and we welcome Stuart. Thank you, Stuart, for providing the message. Transcending Duality, Restoring Spirit. Thank you. Over to you.
Thank you so much. Can everybody hear me okay? All right, that's wonderful. Thank you for inviting me to give the message, Reverend Bill. The title is Transcending Duality, Restoring Unity, which I realize is a bit of a paradox. I really like how Reverend Bill refers to Unity of Melbourne and Unity in general as a mystery school of life, which I really think it is. And I love the teachings of Unity, and I want to go through this and explore this topic. So I'm going to start with the five unity principles. The five unity principles are a set of spiritual, metaphysical teachings focusing on inherent goodness, the power of thought, and practical application. They emphasize that God is all good and everywhere. People are inherently divine. Thoughts create reality. Prayer and meditation connects us to God. And living this truth daily is essential. So these principles were formulated by Unity co-founders Charles and Myrtle Fillmore to guide individuals towards a deeper spiritual understanding and a more fulfilling life. Now, this will be relevant to what I'm going to discuss. So I'll quickly go over these five Unity principles. And these aren't intended to be a creed. It's not a Unity creed. Excuse me. It's just, I like it because if someone asks me, what's Unity all about? This is what I often refer them to. So the first principle is God is all good. There is only one presence and one power, God the good, active in the universe and in our lives. That part's particularly important for what I'm going to be talking about. So transcending duality and restoring unity. That there's only one mind. That's a Hermetic principle too. I believe it's the first one. There's only one presence and one power. So that means that we're part of that one presence and one power. Number two is beautiful, inherent goodness. Human beings are inherently good because our essence is of God, the Christ spirit within. So the first two I personally view as the who, and then the last three I see is more of the what. So the first two are about God is good, and we're also good because we're part of God. Number three, creative thinking. We create our life experiences through our way of thinking and the beliefs we hold in our minds. This one also relates to what I'm going to be speaking about too, because I want to basically talk about how we're in a dualistic world, but we are still whole and one with the one presence. And I know that's a weird paradox when you first explore it. You're either one or you're separate. I'll address that. So we create our life experiences through our way of thinking and the beliefs we hold in our mind. And those beliefs can also center around whether we're whole, unified, or whether we're separate. Prayer and meditation. Through affirmative prayer meditation, we align our heart, mind with God, bringing out the good in our lives. So I'm giving you a little few thoughts on my perspective on this as we go too. So I feel like the affirmative prayer meditation, aligning our hearts and minds with God, brings out the good in our lives because we're focusing back on God the good, point number one, and point number two, which is we're inherently good. So we're recalibrating back into understanding who and what we really are. And number five is living the truth. Knowledge of these principles is not enough. We must live the truth we know through our thoughts, words, and actions. So in a way, it seems like a laboring or reiteration of maybe point three, four, and five, but I kind of like that. It's really emphasizing the importance. So number five, living the truth. Knowledge of these principles is not enough. We must live the truth we know through our thoughts, words, and actions. I think I've mentioned before, I love that point in the Matrix where Neo says to, it's Morpheus who says it to Neo. There's a difference between knowing the path and walking the path. So You know, at times I can think I'm really clever. I've got all this knowledge, esoteric knowledge, but I feel like I'm only clever, excuse me, if I actually use it, apply it. Okay, I do have an image I would like to share, please, if you have that ready. And it's just one picture. So there it is. So I'm going to go into quantum physics briefly. I don't know a lot about it, but I know a little bit about it. And I'll tell you where this image is from. So in 2023, researchers used biphoton digital holography to visualize entangled photons, creating a real-time image that looks strikingly like a yin-yang symbol. I guess you can sort of recognize that if you down this esoteric path, you're going to recognize that symbol straight away. It's it's pretty amazing. So I'll read that again. In 2023, researchers used biphoton digital holography to visualize entangled photons, creating a real-time image that looks strikingly like a yin-yang symbol, symbolizing complementary intertwined quantum states. This aligns with the philosophical concept of opposing forces like the wave particle duality, creating a unified, balanced whole. So, to me, this is deeply esoteric. So, what I'm talking about here is transcending the duality and restoring unity, which is sort of a moot point because we never left unity. We're just having an experience of apparent separation so we can learn some lessons. So, in the yin yang symbol and also in this photo, you can see there's a wave in the middle. The duality is creating the movement in this reality so we can have experiences of apparent separation. So that's why our lives are challenging because they're supposed to be, because we're supposed to be learning lessons here. And I direct that to me as well. I'm trying to learn lessons while I'm here too. So Niels Bohr and complementarity. Long before modern imaging, like, I gotta say this right, biphoton digital holography. So long before this imaging was available, Niels Bohr, one of the founding fathers of quantum mechanics, saw the yin-yang symbol as a perfect representation of his principle of complementarity. So there's a wave particle duality, which I won't go into detail about yet, but the waves collapse into a particle if we're watching them, if we're like the double slit experiment. So if we focus on something, it becomes solidified, like a potential becomes real, which absolutely ties into the unity teachings in a way so powerfully. So Bohr argued that light and matter exhibit both wave-like and particle-like properties, which are seemingly contradictory, but necessary for a complete description of reality. So you head over between light and shadow. So it's supposed to represent base level consciousness. So when you walk into the temple, that's where we're starting from in this reality, this duality, this yin yang. So I want to talk briefly about Unity's perspective on duality. And I had a bit of a deep dive on this, and I found this really interesting. So Unity Church teachings on duality are rooted in metaphysical Christianity and the philosophy of non-duality, oneness. While acknowledging humans experience the world of duality, characterized by opposites like good and evil, light and darkness, and separation, Unity teaches that these are ultimately illusions, and the underlying reality is the singularity of God. That's huge. So when we pass, whatever term you want to use it, we'll realize this and we'll see this for ourselves. And in fact, if you speak to many people who've had a near-death experience, they'll tell you this. So I'm going to read that again. Unity Church teaches on duality are rooted in metaphysical Christianity and the philosophy of non-duality, of oneness, while acknowledging that humans experience a world of duality characterized by opposites, like good and evil, light, darkness, and separation. Unity teaches that these are ultimately illusions, and the underlying reality is the singularity of God. So the key aspects of Unity's teachings on dualities are the first principle, oneness. Unity teaches that there is only one presence and one power active in the universe and in all our lives, God the good. Therefore, ultimate reality is non-dualistic, of course, because it's whole, it's one. Duality as an illusion, these are all Unity teachings. The apparent separation between humanity and God or between individuals is seen as a misconception or error belief. This duality is a temporary, relative experience of the material world rather than the absolute truth. So I was having a discussion with a friend months ago, trying to get this information. And I don't push this on people. I enjoy these discussions. And in a moment of inspiration, I said, well, we're basically playing the cosmic version of Survivor. Remember that show how you'd go away from your family and live on an island, there'd be limited food and it'd put you under stress and see what you're really made of? That's how I see our experience in duality that we're having right now. So back to the Unity teachings, nature of evil and sin. Oh, I love this about Unity. Unity does not believe that evil is a power opposing God. Instead, what society calls evil is viewed as a result of humans' misuse of free will and God-given laws, a state of separation in consciousness from the divine. Okay, overcoming dualistic thinking. The goal of the spiritual path in Unity is to move beyond the perception of separation and to realize one's own divinity, the Christ within. How beautiful is that? I'm going to get onto some teachings of Jesus soon, and they're all about, from my perspective, through a Unity lens, it's all about trying to remind us of who we really are. The third space of integration, rather than fighting evil or trying to eliminate all opposites, Unity encourages seeing rightly, recognizing the underlying unity behind apparent duality. That basically sums up my whole talk. I'm going to read that one again. Rather than fighting evil or trying to eliminate all opposites, Unity encourages seeing rightly, recognizing the underlying unity behind apparent duality. This involves integrating shadows to achieve a state of oneness or unity consciousness. If we were in the sanctuary right now, you know there'd be a picture of Carl Jung up there and a comment from Sheila. Because shadow work is very much, and integrating the shadow is very much a Jung principle. I'm a Jung fan too. So denials and affirmations, tools used to shift from dualistic mindset. So we remove things like I am sick, I am poor. I gotta get on board with this more carefully too, not focus on negative. To a non-dualistic spirituality. I'm a child of God, filled with health and abundance. So we're affirming the positive. So in summary, Unity teaches that while we live in a world of duality, our true nature is an extension of the one divine source. And spiritual growth involves moving from a consciousness of separation to a consciousness of oneness. Okay, now I'm going to move into sharing a little bit about my journey of re-understanding some of Jesus' teachings through this unity lens. So this is what I've been on this journey here. So I got brought up Catholic. I used to hear this phrase that Jesus said, "The last shall be first, and the first shall be last." And I used to think, well, that's pretty strange. I imagine people in a queue, right? Imagine getting for coffee and someone comes, Jesus comes out and says, okay, I know you get next up for your coffee, but you're going to have to go back. And whoever's at the back has to come to the front now. I thought, that's really weird. And then I thought, hang on a minute, the people in the middle, they're not going to notice any difference. So what on earth was that all about? Now, later on, I understood. I'm going to tell you,
Have we got a problem there, Stuart? I think you've frozen.
so it's like a riddle. Here's the verse this comes from. It's from Matthew 21-16. For the kingdom of heaven is like a landowner who went out early in the morning to hire workers for his vineyard. He agreed to pay them a denarius for the day and sent them out to his vineyard. About 9 in the morning, he went out and saw others standing in the marketplace doing nothing. He told them, "You also go and work in my vineyard, and I'll pay you whatever is right." So they went. He went out again at noon, and then 3 in the afternoon did the same thing. About 5 in the afternoon, he went out and found others still hanging around. He asked them, "Why are you standing around here all day long doing nothing?" They answered, "Because no one has hired us." He said to them, "Okay, you also go and work in my vineyard." Now, when evening came, the owner of the vineyard said to the foreman, "Call all the workers and pay them their wages, beginning with the last ones hired, and then work your way back to the first." The workers who were hired at around about 5 in the afternoon came in and each received a denarius. So when those who were hired first, they expected to receive more, of course, because you'd think if you paid the last people a denarius, then I must get more in relation to that. I'd think the same. But each of them also received a denarius. When they received it, they began to grumble against the landowner. Those who were hired last worked only 1 hour, and you've made them equal to us who have borne the burden of working in the heat all day. But he answered to them, "I'm not being unfair to you. Didn't you agree to work for a denarius? Take your pay and go. I want to give the one who was hired last the same as I gave you." How beautiful is that? It's oneness. It's all equal. Don't I have the right to do what I want with my money? Or are you envious because I'm generous? And that's when he says, "So the last will be first and the first will be last." So looking back now in many years down the track, this makes complete sense. But when I heard this at Catholic Church, I was like, well, that was a waste of my time. That didn't mean anything to me. It's just weird. But now I 100% get it. Okay, so the next one I wanted to talk about was Jesus saying in Matthew 7, 1 to 2, it says, "Do not judge, or you too will be judged. For in the same way you judge others, you will be judged, and with the same measure you use, it will be measured to you." This teaching is from the Sermon on the Mount. So through the unity lens, I realized there is no judgment. The judgment's coming from us. There's no God going to judge us. It's just from Jesus. I'm not making up stories here or my own interpretation. I'll say it again. Do not judge, or you too will be judged. For in the same way you judge others, you will be judged, and with the same measure you use, it will be measured unto you. So therefore, it's logical. If I don't judge at all, then there's no judgment for me, because we're all whole. There's only one. So if I judge the whole, it's only coming from me. Love your enemies. The primary love your enemies verse is from Matthew 5:44, where Jesus says, "But I tell you, love your enemies and pray for those who persecute you." This is part of the Sermon on the Mount. It challenges followers to choose love, kindness for those who oppress them or mistreat them. I really struggled with this one early on too, but now through this oneness lens, I get what he's saying, because he's saying love your enemies because they're you. It's the same as saying love yourself. And this leads on to the greatest commandment in a minute too. So I'll give you the 3 times this appears. It's in Matthew 5:44. "But I say to you, love your enemies and pray for those who persecute you." Luke 6:27, 28. "But to you who are listening, I say, love your enemies, do good to those who hate you, bless those who curse you, pray for those who mistreat you." It's also in Luke 6:35. "But love your enemies, do good, and lend, expecting nothing in return. Your reward will be great, and you will be children of the Most High, for he is kind to the ungrateful and the wicked." Oh, wow. So there's more supporting the unity teachings there. There are other verses that I didn't want to go on too long today because there are so many. Once I started viewing the scriptures through the lens of these unity teachings, it's very beautiful. So he's telling us there, the Most High, the one mind, the divine, is kind to the ungrateful and the wicked. That's the model. It's not this model about some angry God who's going to punish us. I love this one too. The greatest commandment, according to Jesus in the New Testament, so Matthew 22:37 to 40, the greatest commandment is to love the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul and your mind. The second closely relates to that commandment, love your neighbor as yourself. Together, these two principles summarize the law of the prophets. So this makes a lot more sense to me now too. Love the Lord your God, and the second one is love your neighbor as yourself. Once again, this to me is talking about oneness. Loving your enemy because that's you, Loving God, because that's you. Love your neighbors, because that's you. I know I've mentioned this a few times, but I, if I have a dream, all the characters are me. This helped me understand this metaphor too. I might have challenges and discussions and arguments in a dream or think hurtful, but then I wake up and I realize that was all me. I brought that energy into that dream. And then I can go into Carl Jung from there again and talk about dream analysis. And I understand why he was doing that. Calling down fire, according to Luke 9:51-56, when the disciples James and John asked if they should call down fire to destroy to destroy a Samaritan village that rejected Jesus. Did you realize that happens in the gospel? So the village isn't happy or receptive to Jesus. So some of the disciples like, hey, do we call down the fire and destroy them? Basically, like, do we fire the missiles? Like, it's pretty shocking. So they wanted to call down fire. Jesus clarified that the Son of Man came to save lives, not to destroy them. And they subsequently went to another village. So the context is the disciples were likely referencing Prophet Elijah calling down fire to consume the soldiers in 2 Kings 1:10-12. Jesus scolded them, saying, you don't know of what kind of spirit you are. How revealing and on point is that? So in response to let's destroy these people and burn them up, he's saying to them, you don't know what kind of spirit you are. You see what I'm getting at? He's telling them you haven't remembered who you are. That's you. The narrative emphasizes the shift from vengeance to grace, highlighting that Jesus came to save souls, not destroy them. I've just got a couple more. I've titled this one Sword Wielding Apostle Peter. During the arrest of Jesus in the Garden of Gethsemane, the disciple Simon Peter drew a sword and cut off the right ear of Malchus, the servant of the high priest, Caiaphas. Jesus immediately rebuked Peter, saying, put that sword back in its place, and miraculously healed the servant's ear. Wow. Sometimes I've got a bit of a bad attitude about Peter, you know what I mean? But I got to tell you, he's pretty brave. You know, Jesus is being taken away and there's some stuff going to go down. And he's like, no, I've got you. I'm here to defend you. So it's kind of beautiful in a misguided way. But it's once again, it's a misunderstanding. He's basically chopped his own ear off in that incident. So this is recorded in all 4 Gospels. John 18:10 specifies Peter and the name Malchus. Peter acted impulsively to defend Jesus during his betrayal. The event highlights Jesus' rejection of violence to advance his kingdom and his submission to God's will. It also noted as a demonstration of love for one's enemies. So this might be the most powerful one for me. Jesus forgives. Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. That's from Luke 23:34. This is when he's being killed, right? So I also respect Jesus because, and you can argue about whether he was a real person, whether these are real accounts, and that's fine. You know, I'm open to that. But if we just view it as a story, um, I find this very powerful. So he's living what he's been preaching. He's been saying, pray for those who persecute you, pray for your enemies. To me, Jesus is the most Zen character ever. So he's being crucified and he's praying for those people. It makes me emotional to talk about it. It always does. Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. It exemplifies extreme grace, mercy, and unconditional love, interceding for his tormentors despite his agony. I want to, but there's a quick short sidebar here about the fractal nature of reality, which I'll talk about another time. So it talks about 3 hours of darkness that occurred when he was crucified. So there's an as above, so below aspect. So there's the Star of David that, beg your pardon, the Star of Bethlehem that appears when he's born. The sun is a star, as you know. And then there's the star of our local sun that goes dark when he's killed. So according to the Synoptic Gospels, the miraculous darkness covered the land for 3 hours, noon until 3 p.m. The Synoptic Gospels are the first 3 Gospels, Matthew, Mark, and Luke. So here's my final thought. Something made the apostles very brave after Jesus appeared to them during the resurrection. So you probably all know they all scattered. Peter denied, no, I never knew Jesus. I don't know who you're talking about. I don't know who that is. They were ready to cut and run after all that went down. They finally understood who they are and what they are. So I put that down to them seeing Jesus after the resurrection. And of course, Pentecost, where the Holy Spirit comes down and they're speaking and everyone can understand them in their own language. There are some other texts which I've read from the Nag Hammadi which go into great detail about what Jesus told them. And if that's true, I understand why they became so brave. And to summarize, it's just basically, you're a spirit. The reason you can see me now is because this is what I really am. And also, if you read the Transfiguration, where Jesus turns into light before the apostles, he's showing them at that point what they really are and what he really is too. So that's the end of my talk. And what it was all about was transcending duality and restoring unity, which is a paradox because we're already unified. Much love and blessings to everyone.
Imagine that.